Dawn was breaking outside the arena, though the sealed dome blocked any natural sunlight from entering. Only emergency lighting remained, casting everything in harsh red shadows that made the scattered bodies look even more dramatic. Of the 50 elite Vorthan soldiers who had entered to execute one human-only Commander Daewon remained alive and uninjured. He sat alone on the central platform with his weapon beside him, staring at the dead bodies scattered throughout the arena. Kyle had deliberately left him for last because commanders needed to understand the full scope of their defeat before they died. It was important that the lesson be complete. Kyle emerged from the shadows, openly now, no longer needing stealth or surprise tactics. His uniform was torn and stained with alien blood. His face showed exhaustion, but his posture remained completely unbowed. He approached Daewon slowly, with his sidearm holstered but ready for quick action. 49 of your best soldiers are dead, Kyle said, his voice echoing in the terrible silence. Your trap became their tomb. Your execution became your extinction. Daewon looked up with reptilian eyes that had lost all their predatory gleam. How, he asked simply. You are just one human. We had every possible advantage: numbers, position, superior technology, and training. You had everything except understanding, Kyle replied, stopping just outside striking distance. You saw humans as weak because we do not have scales or claws or natural armor. You did not realize that our weakness became our greatest strength over time. I do not understand what you mean. Kyle gestured at the arena around them. You are apex predators on your homeworld, born with natural advantages, never had to struggle for basic survival. Humans climbed to the top of our food chain with nothing but determination and the ability to adapt. We learned to make tools, think tactically, and most importantly, never surrender no matter what. He paused, letting the lesson sink deep into the alien commander mind. You brought overwhelming force to crush one human. I turned your own advantages against you. Your superior numbers became easy targets. Your advanced facility became my hunting ground. Your confidence became your biggest weakness. Daewon picked up his energy weapon but did not aim it at Kyle. Will you kill me now? That depends, Kyle said calmly. Are you going to learn from this lesson, or do you still think humans are easy prey for your empire? The commander laugh held no humor at all. After watching you systematically destroy my entire unit, after seeing what one human can do when cornered and fighting for survival, he set his weapon down on the ground. I think your species has been greatly underestimated by everyone. Kyle nodded with approval. Good, because this message needs to reach your high command and spread through your military. Humans do not break under pressure. We become more dangerous. We do not surrender when cornered. We adapt and overcome every obstacle, and we never ever give up fighting, no matter how bad things look. He activated the arena communication system one final time, broadcasting on all Vorthan military frequencies. This is Petty Officer Kyle Harrison to all hostile forces listening. You sent 50 soldiers to execute one human in your arena. One human survived and all your soldiers died. Learn from their mistake or repeat it at your own risk. Kyle then did something that surprised Daewon completely. He unlocked the arena doors and stepped aside, letting fresh air flow into the chamber. You are free to go, Commander. Take this lesson back to your people. Humans are not your enemies by choice, but we will become your worst nightmare if you force us to be. Daewon limped toward the exit. Kyle remained standing in the arena. Rescue ships would come eventually. His emergency beacon was still broadcasting. But he had accomplished something much more important than just personal survival. He had taught an entire alien species that humanity's greatest weapon was not advanced technology or superior numbers. It was the unbreakable human spirit that turned every trap into an opportunity, every defeat into determination, and every ending into a new beginning. The arena was silent now, but its lesson would echo across the galaxy. Humans were no longer unknown prey to be easily hunted and killed. They were the apex predators, and the universe was about to learn exactly why Earth had bred such incredible survivors. Captain Minji found the 3 dead bodies first, their throats cut with surgical precision that showed expert knife skills. Her hands shook as she pressed the communication button. Daewon, we have casualties, she reported. 3 soldiers dead in Sector 12. Very clean kills with no energy weapon burns. Anywhere impossible, Daewon hissed back, but Kyle could hear the uncertainty starting to creep into the commander voice through the speaker system. Humans do not have claws or any natural weapons. How could he possibly kill 3 trained soldiers? He used some kind of blade. Sung-ho interrupted after examining the wounds through his rifle scope. Very primitive weapon, but obviously very effective. He is hunting us like we are the prey animals. Psychological warfare was working exactly like Kyle had planned it. The Vorthons were pack hunters by nature, used to overwhelming their prey through coordination and superior numbers. When soldiers started dying alone, it disrupted their confidence. And tactical thinking, fear was becoming Kyle's greatest weapon in this fight. Kyle moved through the arena hidden passages like a ghost in the night, using the building's own systems against the people inside. Motion sensors that were meant for tracking. Gladiators now told him exactly where alien soldiers were positioned. The arena sound system carried his enemies' nervous talking directly to his ears. Every advantage they had planned to use against him had become his personal tool. He emerged near another group, this time 4 soldiers who were covering each other's backs in a good defensive formation. It was smart tactical thinking, but they had made one mistake. They positioned themselves near one of the arena trap mechanism's hydraulic platforms, designed to create dramatic terrain changes during gladiator fights. Kyle activated the platform using remote controls. The floor section dropped away, suddenly sending 2 aliens tumbling into the deep pit below while their companions scrambled desperately for balance in all the confusion. Kyle sidearm spoke twice with clean headshots. Then he disappeared again before return fire could find his position. 43 soldiers left, he whispered into the communication system, his voice seeming to come from everywhere at once. Thanks to the arena acoustic design, you wanted to make an example of a human warrior. Let me show you what that really means in practice. The remaining soldiers began clustering together in much larger groups, abandoning their organized search patterns in favor of pure defensive positions. It was exactly what Kyle wanted, because scared enemies always made predictable choices that could be used against them. Daiwan tried hard to regain control of his scattered and frightened forces. All units converge on the central platform, immediately form a tight defensive circle. We will wait this human out until he makes a mistake, sir. Minji's voice was barely steady anymore. What happens if he does not come to us directly then? We will starve him out, Daewon replied, but Kyle could hear the doubt in his words. The commander was finally realizing that his trapped prey had somehow become the predator, and now they were the ones stuck in the cage. Kyle smiled as he watched them. Through multiple security cameras, 43 alien soldiers huddled together, like frightened animals waiting for something terrible to happen. They still thought in terms of traditional warfare: hold defensive ground, establish fire superiority, and wait for reinforcement to arrive. But this was not a battle between 2 armies fighting for territory. This was an apex predator teaching a very important lesson about who really controlled the food chain. Kyle began preparing for the next phase of his education program. The aliens had wanted to see human determination in action, and he was about to give them a demonstration they would never forget, assuming any of them lived long enough to remember it. The 43 remaining Vorthon soldiers had formed a very tight defensive circle on the arena central platform, with their weapons pointed outward in all directions. It was good tactical thinking, but it also showed their psychology clearly. They were no longer trying to hunt Kyle, they were just trying to hide and survive. Kyle watched them from multiple camera angles through the security system. Noting their formation, weapon positions, and growing desperation, Commander Daewon was trying hard to project confidence and control, but his troops were breaking down under the pressure of fighting an enemy they could not see, predict, or understand. Reinforcements are coming soon, Daewon announced to his soldiers, though Kyle access to their communications revealed this was a complete lie. The arena lockdown had cut off all contact with the outside world. We just need to hold our position until help arrives. Kyle cut the electrical power to their section of the arena, plunging the central platform into absolute darkness. The aliens' panicked shouts echoed through the dome as their night vision equipment struggled with the sudden change. Bright energy weapon fire lit up the darkness as they shot at shadows and imagined threats. Their military discipline was completely broken. Now hold your fire, Minji screamed desperately. You are shooting at each other, not the enemy. When Kyle restored the lights 30 seconds later, 2 more alien soldiers lay dead from friendly fire, and their Formation was in complete chaos. The survivors stared at each other with fear and suspicion as trust broke down just as quickly as their tactical coordination had failed. 40. One Kyle voice echoed through the arena speakers. Your commanders lied to you about reinforcements. No help is coming. The exits are all sealed. It is just you, me, and the lesson I am teaching here today. What lesson? Sung Ho demanded, his weapon sweeping frantically across empty spaces looking for targets that were not there. That humans do not break under pressure, Kyle replied from his hidden position. You wanted to execute a human warrior to scare our species. Instead, you have learned why we conquered our home planet, why we spread across the stars, and why we never surrender to anyone. Every predator thinks they are the strongest until they meet something higher on the food chain. Kyle triggered the arena gladiator combat protocols that were designed to create dynamic, entertaining fights for audiences. Platforms rose and fell, barriers extended and retracted, and the floor itself began shifting into completely new configurations. The stable defensive position the aliens had chosen became a maze of moving parts and changing sightlines. In all the confusion, Kyle struck again. A grenade rolled into their group, not to kill everyone, but to scatter them in different directions. As aliens dove for cover behind the newly risen barriers, Kyle moved among them like death itself. His knife found 3 more targets before the survivors could regroup and figure out what had happened. 38 soldiers left, he announced calmly. Still feeling confident about hunting humans for sport. One roar of rage was answered by weapon fire directed at speakers throughout the arena, but Kyle was no longer using the communication system. His voice came from directly behind a group of 5 soldiers who had taken cover behind a metal barrier. They turned around to find him standing there like a nightmare made real. His uniform was torn, his face was streaked with alien blood, but his eyes burned with unbreakable determination. His sidearm spoke 4 times before the 5th alien could raise his weapon. Kyle was gone before their bodies hit the ground. The remaining 33 Vorthans broke completely, abandoning any pretense of military formation to flee in all directions. But there was nowhere to run in the sealed arena, and Kyle knew every hiding spot, every secret passage, every tactical advantage the facility offered to a smart fighter. The hunt continued, methodical and relentless. Kyle was not just killing enemy soldiers anymore. He was dismantling their entire belief system about human capabilities and determination. Each death drove home the lesson that humans were not soft prey to be easily eliminated. They were something far more dangerous than any alien species had imagined. Kyle pushed open the control room door and stepped inside. The circular chamber was filled with alien technology that glowed with soft blue light. Banks of monitors covered the walls, showing the confused Vorthan soldiers searching the arena floor. Below, their neat formations were breaking apart as panic started to creep into their ranks. Spread out more. Daewon voice came through the speakers, sounding frustrated. Check every shadow, every corner. He has to be hiding somewhere down there. Kyle studied the control panels, using his technical training to figure out how the alien systems worked. Most military technology followed the same basic patterns no matter what species built it. There were power controls, environmental systems, and security features. He found what he needed within just a few minutes. Kyle's fingers moved across the holographic controls, accessing the arena defensive systems. This building had been designed for containing dangerous gladiatorial fights, which meant it had very impressive abilities for controlling the battlefield. Kyle found the arena lockdown protocol and activated it immediately. Massive blast doors slammed shut around the arena edges with sounds like thunder. Emergency lighting turned everything red, and an alien voice started announcing something in their language, probably a containment warning. The entire building shook from the power of the closing doors. What is happening? Minji's voice rose in alarm as she tried to reach an exit and found it completely blocked. The doors will not open. It must be a system malfunction, Sung Ho said, but his voice showed he was not really sure about that explanation. Kyle turned on the arena internal communication system so his voice would boom through speakers positioned all around the dome. Attention, Vorthan soldiers. This is Petty Officer Kyle Harrison, United States Navy. You wanted to trap a human in your fighting arena. Congratulations, you have succeeded in doing that. The sudden silence from below was complete. Kyle could see the alien soldiers frozen in place through the security cameras. Their heads turned toward the speakers as his words sank into their minds, however. Kyle continued, letting his voice echo through the arena. You made one very big mistake. You thought you were the hunters. He paused to let that sink in deep. You are not the hunters anymore. You are now the prey, and this arena has become your cage. Daeon roar of rage echoed through the chamber. Find him, find the control room. I want that human dead right now. Kyle was already moving, having memorized the building layout from the control room displays. The arena had been designed with multiple levels and hidden passages for dramatic gladiator entrances. What the audience had seen as entertainment features, Kyle now used as tactical advantages for warfare. He triggered the arena environmental controls, plunging some sections into complete darkness while flooding other areas with blinding bright light. Fog machines that had been designed for dramatic effect now created perfect concealment for a trained soldier. The aliens' sophisticated weapons were completely useless if they could not see their target clearly. I cannot see anything, one soldier reported, his voice tight with growing fear. Thermal imaging systems are not working, another soldier added. The fog is interfering with all our electronic scanners. Kyle dropped down through a gladiator entrance tunnel, emerging silently behind a group of 3 Vorthan soldiers who were standing close together with their backs to him. His knife work was silent and very efficient. By the time their fellow soldiers realized something was wrong, Kyle had vanished back into the shadows, and their numbers had dropped from 50 to 47. The real hunt had begun, and the aliens were about to learn what it meant to face a human warrior who refused to surrender. Kyle stepped out of the escape pod very slowly, putting one hand against his ribs like he was badly hurt. He stumbled a little bit, selling the act of being a wounded and confused survivor. The arena lights were very bright after being inside the dark pod, but trained eyes quickly got used to the light. He looked around fast, cataloging every shadow and structural detail he could see. Look at him. Minji laughed through the communication system. Pathetic, the mighty human warriors are nothing but soft flesh. And Fear Commander Daewon raised his energy weapon higher. All units target the human on my command. We fire together. Kyle suddenly dove behind a thick support pillar just as bright energy blasts hit the ground where he had been standing. The metal floor turned red hot and started smoking. The aliens were very good shots, but they had made a big mistake. They had all fired at the same time, which showed Kyle exactly where each shooter was hiding. Kyle, enhanced hearing that had been trained through years of combat, mapped each enemy position from the sound their weapons made. Mist Sung-ho snarled in anger. How did that human move so fast? Spread out. Daewon commanded his troops surround him from different angles. He is just one human against 50 of us. Kyle smiled grimly as he heard their heavy boots walking on the metal walkways high above him. They were moving to new positions exactly like he hoped they would. The aliens were splitting up their forces to surround him. While they moved around, Kyle was already starting his real plan, using the arena thick structural supports as protection. Kyle began moving toward the maintenance access point he had spotted earlier. The aliens' energy weapons left bright, glowing marks on the metal, creating a light show that actually helped hide his movements in the flashing shadows. Where is he? Minji's voice was full of frustration. He was right there just a second ago. Kyle reached the maintenance hatch and quickly worked on the locking mechanism. His combat engineering training helped him a lot. Alien technology was not that different from human systems when you understood the basic ideas. The hatch opened with a soft hissing sound. I have lost sight of the target, Sung-ho reported to his commander. He has disappeared somewhere near Section 7. Impossible. Daewon growled angrily. Search the entire area. No human can just vanish into thin air. But Kyle had done exactly that by dropping down into the maintenance tunnel system that ran like a maze under the arena foundation. The space was very cramped and had been designed for small repair robots, not for soldiers, but Kyle had trained in much worse conditions before he started moving through the narrow passages heading for the control room access point he had identified earlier. The alien soldiers spread out in a search pattern, their heavy footsteps echoing loudly through the arena. They were noisy and undisciplined, used to winning fights with superior numbers and better weapons. They had never faced a predator who could use their own advantages against them. Kyle found what he was looking for, a vertical shaft that led up to the control systems. As he climbed up, he could hear the aliens getting more worried and upset. Their confident talking was replaced by nervous orders and confused reports. The hunter had become the hunted, and they were just starting to realize something was very wrong. The maintenance shaft was dark and narrow, but Kyle moved up it like he had done this 1,000 times before. His hands found each grip easily, and his body moved with the smooth efficiency of a trained warrior. At the top of the shaft was the arena control room, where all the building systems could be operated. Kyle could hear Daewon's voice getting more angry as he shouted orders to his confused soldiers. They had expected an easy execution, but instead they were dealing with a human who seemed to have vanished completely. The psychological pressure was already starting to work on them as Kyle reached the control room entrance. He could hear the aliens spreading out further, trying to cover more ground. They were making more noise, now calling out to each other and firing their weapons. At Shadows, their discipline was breaking down exactly like Kyle wanted. The control room was just ahead, and Kyle knew that once he reached it, the real game would begin. The aliens thought they had set a perfect trap, but they were about to learn that the most dangerous traps were the ones that could be turned around and used against the people who made them. Kyle pressed his ear to the control room door and listened carefully. There were no sounds from inside, which meant the room was empty. The aliens had been so confident about their trap that they had not bothered to guard their most important systems. This overconfidence would cost them dearly. Commander Daewon stood tall on the viewing platform, high above the massive arena floor. His green-scaled skin gleamed under the bright lights as he looked down at the empty space below. The arena was huge, bigger than 10 football fields put together. The metal floor was polished and clean, ready for what was about to happen. Daewon smiled, showing his sharp white teeth. Today would be a good day. The human ship had crashed exactly where they wanted it to. The escape pod was sitting right in the middle of the arena floor like a gift. The aliens had been planning this trap for weeks, and now everything was perfect. Captain Minji walked up beside Daewon, carrying her energy rifle. The weapon hummed with power, ready to fire at any moment. Her reptilian eyes focused on the small metal pod far below. She was excited about what was coming next. Human ship crashed perfectly into our trap zone. Daewon said, his voice making a hissing sound like a snake. Their escape pod landed right where we wanted it. When the human comes out, we will have clear shots from every direction. Minji nodded her head in agreement. The arena had been built for fighting games long ago, but today it would be used for something different. Today it would be an execution chamber. 50 of the best Vorthan soldiers were positioned around the upper levels of the arena. All of them had their weapons pointed down at the escape pod. Every soldier was an expert marksman who never missed their target. The humans had been causing problems across 3 different star systems. They had attacked Vorthan ships, destroyed alien bases, and rescued prisoners. The High Command was angry about these attacks. They wanted to make an example of the humans to show the galaxy what happened to those who fought against the Vorthan Empire. Lieutenant Sung-ho was watching his scanner screen carefully. The green display showed information about the escape pod below. Life signs show 1 survivor inside the pod, he reported. Human male injured but still alive. He has not moved for 20 minutes. Minji made a disgusted sound. Coward, she said with anger in her voice. Hiding like a scared animal. The moment he steps out of that pod, we will end this war hero story forever. The other alien soldiers laughed at Minji's words. They all thought the same thing. Humans were weak creatures with soft skin and no natural weapons. They had no scales for protection, no claws for fighting, and no sharp teeth for biting. How could such weak beings possibly be dangerous? The aliens could not understand how humans had become such a problem. What the 50 Vorthan soldiers did not know was that inside the escape pod, Navy SEAL Kyle Harrison was very much awake and alert. He had been conscious during the entire crash landing. He had felt every bump and shake as the pod hit the arena floor, but instead of panicking, Kyle had used the time wisely. He studied the arena layout through the pod sensors. He learned about the building structure, the weapon positions, and the number of enemies waiting for him. The aliens thought they had trapped a helpless human, but Kyle saw the situation very differently. He saw opportunity. He saw a chance to turn the tables on his enemies. He saw a hunting ground where he could use his training and skills. Kyle checked his equipment one more time. His tactical knife was secured to his belt, sharp and ready for close combat. 3 grenades hung from his gear belt, each one capable of causing Serious damage. His sidearm pistol had 2 full magazines of ammunition. It was not much firepower against 50 alien soldiers, but Kyle had learned to work with less before. The key to survival was not always having the best weapons. The key was having the right mindset and the will to never give up. Kyle had noticed something very important that the aliens had missed completely. The arena control room could be reached through maintenance tunnels that ran under the floor. These tunnels were meant for repair work, but they could also be used for movement and surprise attacks. If Kyle could reach the control room, he could change the rules of the game, but first he needed to make the aliens think he was helpless and scared. Kyle activated the pod emergency beacon, then slumped against the wall, pretending to be unconscious. The beacon would send out a distress signal that would make the aliens eager to finish him quickly. They would want to end the fight before any rescue ships could arrive. This eagerness would make them careless, and careless enemies made mistakes. Through the pod audio sensors, Kyle could hear the excited alien voices. They were talking about how easy this kill would be. They were already celebrating their victory. Before the fight even started, their overconfidence would be their weakness. Movement detected, Sung-ho announced as he watched his scanner screen. The human is starting to wake up. Dowan's smile grew wider, showing even more of his sharp teeth. All units, prepare to fire on my command, he ordered through the communication system. Let us show the entire galaxy what happens to those who dare to oppose the mighty Vorthan Empire. The 50 alien soldiers adjusted their weapons and aimed more carefully. At the escape pod, they were all excellent shots who had killed many enemies before. Today they expected to add one more human to their list of victories. They thought this would be the easiest kill of their military careers. Kyle hand found the door release mechanism. It was time to step outside and face his enemies, but Kyle was not afraid. He was not planning to surrender or beg for mercy. Kyle Harrison was a United States Navy SEAL trained for the most dangerous missions in the galaxy. He had fought in space battles, survived on hostile planets, and completed impossible tasks that other soldiers could not even imagine. The aliens above thought they were about to execute a helpless human prisoner. They had no idea they were about to face one of the most dangerous warriors humanity had ever produced. They were about to learn why humans had earned their reputation as fighters who never surrendered no matter how bad the odds looked. Kyle took a deep breath and prepared to show these alien soldiers what a cornered human could really do. The hunt was about to begin, but the aliens had made one critical mistake. They thought they were the hunters when in reality they had just become the prey. The door release clicked softly. In Kyle's hand, it was time to step out into the arena and begin the most important fight of his life.